Welcome to Impact. Well, less than a month before the 2011-2012 budget is presented, Minister of Finance Audley has a slew of challenges to grapple with. This is the second budget under the $1.27 billion IMF standby agreement. And while stability has returned to the economy, the national debt is increasing over the last 3 years. Job losses continue and growth is elusive. But there are very encouraging signs. Interest rates are at 30-year lows. The net international reserves are at historically high levels. And the multi-billion-dollar loss-making entities such as Air Jamaica and the state-owned sugar assets have been divested. This budget, the fourth for the GLP government, is going to be very crucial for the fortunes of the country and the administration. What should we expect? Joining us on Impact today, the Finance Minister, the Minister of Finance and the Public Service, Audley. Welcome to Impact, Mr. Minister.
Thanks for having me.
Good. First, a year after the IMF agreement, what's the state of the economy?
Well, we can rank the economy as stable at this time. We have achieved very important targets under the standby agreement with the International Monetary Fund. As you know, we passed the first 3 tests that they had, and we are confident that we will pass the December test as well. They have taken the decision, however, that because we are now in the process of constructing the new budget, by mutual agreement, we decided to have the review of the December quarter and the March quarter in one. So there won't be an official report on the December quarter. So I'm just mentioning that to you so that there won't be any questions raised as to why the IMF has not reported on December. So there will be one review carried out after March.
Is that extraordinary, unusual, usual?
No, it shows the flexibility of the IMF in terms of going forward. You know, this is not just a quarterly event for us. It is a 27-month program with the possibilities for extension as well. And so it's just in line with the thinking that in this particular period, coming more than 1 year after we entered the agreement, that we thought that having regard to the construction of the new budget and the inherent challenges that that itself presents, that we would construct all of that within the new framework, look at whatever adjustments we have to make, and then they would carry out the reviews together, December and March.
Let me ask you a question that your critics would immediately say, something does smell right here, so. What is it that you were in trouble passing the December quarter?
No, the December test we have passed in terms of our quantitative targets, all of them, and the qualitative targets primarily have also been passed. No, it has nothing to do with that at all. It has to do with the framework for the new budget.
Yes.
And you see, you have to understand that the standby agreement must not be seen as an inflexible tool. The IMF has demonstrated, in my own view, beyond the shadow of a doubt, regardless of whatever has been their historical profile, they have demonstrated that there is need for flexibility, there is need for adaptation. They fully recognize that one of the things that happened with my inheritance of this economy, and not excluding the problem of debt, is the extraordinary challenges that we face across the board. I'll give you an example because we need to be current in our discussion. I see where the former Minister of Finance gave a speech, and he was bragging about the fact that when he left the national debt, it was just under $1 trillion. He used the figure 950. I'll come to that as well. He used the figure of $950 billion. The actual figure was $966 billion, if we're going to be accurate. But beyond that, he then says, well, you know, the national debt has gone up 50% since that time. Well, to the average person, that might look quite alarming. But then we must take the thing in context. First of all, when the government was handed over to his government, the national debt was 31 billion Jamaican dollars, an increase of over 3,000% to where it reached when I took it over in 2007. But more importantly, why did it have to grow that way? Because prior to the IMF agreement and since the IMF agreement, we have been obliged to take on board quite a substantial amount of legacy debt that has been left by Omar and which was not recorded in the stock of public debt.
For example?
This would include Air Jamaica.
How much was
Air
it?
Jamaica would be probably 80 or so billion dollars.
80?
$80 billion. This would include the Sugar Company of Jamaica, over $20 billion. This would include ongoing servicing of Clarendon Alumina production debt that have had to be taken on board because of a faulty agreement that he entered with Glencore in a forward sale agreement at a fixed price contract that regardless of the increased cost of energy, we, the people of Jamaica, would have to subsidize that contract. I have had to pay already from the Ministry of Finance to subsidize the sale of alumina at a low price, over 230 million US dollars, right? That is approaching another $20 billion just to keep CAP going. So in addition, we had deferred financing programs that I used to complain about, that when I became finance minister, I had to hog them up in the budget. The 17 schools in Western Jamaica among them. So I'm
well over $150 billion
well, listen,
in legacy debt.
And I don't finish yet. So the point I'm trying to make is that at the appropriate time, I'm going to do the totting up.
Yes.
Then you add to that issues of devaluation, which of course cause your external debt servicing to increase and so on. And then you come up with the full picture. So it's important that the people of Jamaica are not just given something in isolation, that on the face of it, it looks like I'm on some kind of debt explosion excursion.
But let me go back to the IMF for a moment. You did say in your opening that the IMF is proving to be very flexible and sensitive to the realities of Jamaica.
And understanding of the legacy
that you inherited.
that I have inherited.
Yes.
And that in the process of cleaning up, we can't hide anything we can't sweep anything under a rug.
But let me ask
we
you
can't
this,
defer
Minister.
financing payments.
Fine, but let me ask
we
you
have
this.
to accommodate, just one example, the buses that we have brought on board. In the past, you'd take the buses or some other equipment or whatever that you're purchasing. It's only when you are beginning to actually service the debt related to it that you book it on the budget. In the case of the buses right now, I have to book it on the budget immediately, even if the debt servicing comes later on.
Yes, but we're 12 months going into month 13 of a 27-month agreement with the IMF. A part of that flexibility, are you actively, seriously considering extending the IMF agreement beyond this one?
I'm not there yet. Not there yet. We are in a rigorous process, and remember that this process is not just one that is a relationship with the IMF alone. It's also a relationship with the World Bank, the Inter-American Development Bank, the Caribbean Development Bank, and the European Union. And of course, in the case of the European Union, it's strictly grant funding, which is a substantial amount of money. I mean, last time, I think about $10 billion in the last year alone.
You have been very successful in
Yes.
raising money from the multilaterals.
Cheap money.
Cheap money.
Cheap money. I used to say 3% money.
Yes.
And most of the money that, in fact, I can say boldly that the $1.7 billion that has come in from the IMF, World Bank, and IDB in the past year has come in at interest rates of between 0.63% and 1.5%. Less than half of what I said I could get and which Omar said I could not get.
Yes. But
Now it's important, Mr. Hughes, that we recognize that when we're talking about those kinds of interest rates, instead of 12% money on the international capital market.
Big difference.
It means that on $100 million, when you borrow that 12% money, you're servicing 12 million US dollars per year on debt servicing alone. 1% money or 1.5% money is 1.5 million US dollars.
Good. But,
okay? Now, hold on. Let me finish one more point. Because of this relationship with all the multilaterals, when I went to the international capital market to replace a 400 million US dollar debt that Omar had raised in 2001 at 11.75%, the annual debt servicing cost on that was 48 million US dollars. I replaced it, as you know, oversubscribed, $1.1 billion of orders for $400 million, got it at 7.95% interest rate, the lowest in our history from the international capital market. The debt servicing cost on that is 32 million US dollars per year, a saving of 16 million US dollars per year on that one single instrument alone. Over the life of that loan, Cliff, over a 9-year period, you're saving close to 140 million United States dollars, or about 12 billion Jamaican dollars.
We're up on the break.
Now, if we can do that right across the board, continue to save money from the multilaterals and the private market and the low interest rates that are now in Jamaica. The Bank of Jamaica rate is at 6.75%.
Hold on,
the lowest on record.
You are waxing. After the break.
You're not waxing for me, so I have to do it for myself.
After the break, I want to ask you this. Your inheritance is unenviable. But at what point can you see, can you project, can you tell the people of Jamaica that we will be in a position to be borrowing less? Okay? Sure. After the break. This is Impact. Stay with us.